take a personality test. I know that feels like it's going to box you in, but you're going to learn so much about yourself and give yourself language to talk to your partner about maybe why you're feeling frustrated. And it's super easy. There's so many free ones online. You could share that with your partner and say, like, this is me, like, and I agree with these parts. And I want you to know a little bit more of how I think.
Welcome to the Boise REIN Show, your destination for creating wealth through connections in real estate and business. Are you looking to become a real estate professional? Do you want to start your own successful real estate business? Well, I'm your host, Matt Osojnicki. Join us as we learn from the brightest minds, industry leaders, and experienced professionals, equipping you with the knowledge and confidence needed to make informed decisions and thrive in the ever-changing real estate landscape. Your journey starts now. Welcome back to the Boise REIN Show. I'm your host, Matt Osojnicki. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. We have some special guests who are going to talk to us about doing business as a couple. Whether you are actually actively doing business with your spouse or not, there is a relationship there regardless. Love it, hate it, endure it, find your lanes. They are going to talk to us today about how you can work on the business of your relationship rather than in the business of your relationship today. And I know for myself and my wife included, this has been an amazing journey for us doing business together, and we have grown closer together because of it. So who better to talk to today than Dan and Amanda, the professionals themselves on doing business as a couple. Dan and Amanda, thank you so much for coming on today. You guys have lived very separate lives growing up and came together as a business investing couple. That's kind of what you're known for. Dan, your family grew up owning and operating businesses, while Amanda, you grew up in the education space, you know, with that W-2 career mindset going on. I know my wife was the exact same, like, I am just focused on my career. Let's get to retirement and, you know, simple life, right? And that's great for most people. But for those who want to build more for their family, for their futures, you know, there's that relationship that no one really talks about on the day-to-day. Now you guys, you own the Cactus Bar, multiple investment properties in and out of state. Amanda, you host the Investor Meetup. You both host the Couples Investing in Real Estate, which is awesome. We love that experience. And now you guys are on a new journey helping couples invest in business together. So welcome. Thank you for coming on. Give us a little backstory on how you guys got to this, the relationship side of business.
So COVID kind of jump-started my entrepreneur journey. We started investing in real estate together. We grew really, really quickly. And then Cactus Bar at that time, when it was closed for COVID, started back up again. So Dan started getting busy. And so now we have all these investment properties plus this business. We had kids, and we realized that we had to start creating businesses, structures around our real estate, not just be investors. And so that was kind of the start of Dan and I working together as a business couple, and realized that we really loved working together. I mean, we had our challenges and difficulties, but building a business is like a huge professional development. It's like a life journey, right? But then when you add your coupleship, it becomes like a couples development piece. So we became better parents, better partners. And so I think it's so important nowadays for those who are investing together. Like, it is kind of like running a business. Actually is running a business if you run it like one. And so that jumps us started to try to buy some other businesses. And that just didn't work out. So we're like, let's just start our own. And we had learned so much in the 3 years working together that we're like, we could repackage some of the resources that we have and help more couples. And that kind of started doing business as a couple.
Yeah, I feel like that's really missed in a lot of the business conversations we have today and in real estate investing alone. Just like, how do you manage and maintain your family relationship, the relationship you have with your spouse, you know, and try to create successful businesses for yourself and the community. So I want to touch a little bit about your journey specifically, Amanda, because Dan already had his business. You owned the Cactus Bar at the time, right? And so you were working full-time for your business while, Amanda, you were in a W-2 job. What does that transition look like for somebody who is in a W-2 mindset to think about the risk of diving headfirst into going into the entrepreneurial space with your spouse?
I mean, for sure, I did not understand Dan's mindset at all. He's very, like, I was W fix mindset. I'm like, no risk, show up to work 5 to 9, and that's 9 to 5, and that's what you do. And And when I switched over to more of a business mindset, I feel like I had to learn really quickly to fail, and that was okay. And seeing Dan running his business, there was failing every single day. And as a perfectionist, I was like struggling with that. But then once I jumped over to the business side, I'm like, we have to fail a lot more and we have to fail a lot faster. And so that shift for me was really difficult, and I still struggle with it today.
Dan, what are some of the things that you had to help with during this kind of transition?
I think just make her feel okay that some of these feelings that she was feeling are okay, and it's a natural path to go through. And being your own boss or an entrepreneur, that takes a lot of self-discipline, and that's a changed mindset, and that just takes a long time to figure out. And so I was just there to kind of support her and going through that journey, but I can't do it for her. She had to kind of figure it out on her own, and then just be there with her.
Why do you guys think this is so important for couples today to understand that there are going to be challenges and to work on those, to communicate those things? Why do you think that's so important to keep alive in the relationship?
I mean, I saw my parents struggle with their relationship, and for the longest time I believed that their marriage failed because of the business that they were running, because they were so different. And I don't think they fully embraced their differences as a couple. And so I believe that their marriage failed because of it. And Amanda's parents, I mean, you can attest, they went through some businesses together, if you want to fill them in on that.
Yeah. So my parents, they tried running 2 businesses, and I saw them fight a lot over it. And we actually lost our house in 2008 because of the recession and filing bankruptcy. And so my risk tolerance was so low, and actually hated business, didn't ever want to talk about business. And really, when I was working in W-2, it was like a wall was up between like my career and what Dan was doing, even though his income was supporting our family. And so working at like, this is something that we can grow and like create a legacy from, that was a huge shift for me. And so understanding that my parents' past is not our past, and we had to make an intentional decision to say, you're different, I'm different. Let's love that and let's work through it and compromise, because that's actually what's going to create a good partnership in investing or in building a business.
I think we learned really quickly that our marriage is the foundation of our business. And funny enough, before we ever went into business together, I specifically told Amanda that I did not want to go into business with her because of what I saw from my past. And look at us now, we're in business together. And so we believe that our marriage is our foundation of our business. If our marriage falters, then our business will eventually falter as well. Even though our business is centered around that, anyone else in a coupleship, their marriage is their foundation of their business.
It seems like people who start businesses that provide the food on the table for their family can start to be more important than the family structure itself.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you guys experienced that firsthand growing up, that the business was always more important.
Yes.
Yeah.
What are some takeaways or some advice you would have for people to transition from that mindset that is easy to fall into to transition towards that foundation that you were talking about, Dan, and making that the most important thing and not the business?
I mean, I think give yourself some grace to grow through that, because it does take a long time. And I think there's just so many resources out there now, in terms of books or just podcasts, anything out there that can help you adjust to that different mindset, because it's a completely different lifestyle of running your own business, completely different schedule, self-discipline. There's just a lot that goes into it, if you want to expound upon that.
Matt, you mentioned like working on your business. It's like we love to work on our relationship, and that includes like reading books, listening to podcasts.
So doing things together.
Yeah, doing things together that grows our relationship, not just our business, because again, the foundation for us is our relationship. If we're not good, when we go into a business meeting together, it's not going to be good. And at the end of the day, it's sometimes like, are you going to sacrifice your relationship or are you going to sacrifice your business? And for us, it's our main thing is our relationship. That's what's important for us. That's why we started building businesses together, so that our girls can see what it's like to have that entrepreneur mindset, to fail, all those good things about running a business and taking risk. We have to be the example of that. And we want them to see that, your parents can work really hard.
Sure.
And you can create legacy But at the end of it, at the end of the day, it's about us. And so,
Yeah. You know, some of the things I'm reminded of that work for Kylie and I, we started off by doing couples retreats. And what I loved about that was it gave her and I time away from business, from family, from kids, from friends, to just her and I be by ourselves and actually talk about our goals. Meaning, not only what are our business goals, but what are our goals for our family, for our traditions, for our finance, for our future. And we found that having really good communication skills with each other and talk about those things brought us closer together, not only on our goals, but our vision of what we had for ourselves moving forward. Do you guys have any advice, or do you guys have any hacks that you guys do that help build that vision forward for your family structure?
we do multiple things. I'm a pretty process and structured person, but we do a retreat with ourselves as well. But we're continually working on our boundaries. But one of the biggest things that we do is we have meetings separately for our business and our relationship. So we have like a marriage meeting that we do every 2 weeks, and we have a framework and a structure that we follow. Our business, we have a structure and a framework that we follow with EOS. And that's really important for us because then it allows us to compartmentalize some of the issues that are going on because they do blend a lot.
Yeah.
And so I think that has been helpful for us in building some boundaries.
Well, and I think the biggest, like everybody who's a part of an organization, you'll have a meeting with your business. Why don't you have a meeting within your family? Because it's kind of like a business. You're running a whole household. There's so many different aspects that you have to do. And I think the other thing that I found was when we have these marriage meetings, that if I have a grievance with something, and a lot of times in the moment, your emotions are heightened. And so if I bring that up in the moment, then it's going to be received defensively. And so if I can wait on that a little bit, I jot it down somewhere and then I revisit it later, it might not be an issue then later on. Or if it really is, then we talk about it when our emotions are settled.
We'll even create like structures for our date nights. It kind of sounds very business-like, but like we have 2 dates a month, one during the day, one during the evening, and it switches off. Dan will plan one evening that month, and the next month I'll plan the next month's evening, and then the daytime date I'll plan whoever's opposite of planning the evening, and it switches every month. And so it takes the guessing game out of who's gonna be planning this day. Are we gonna have a date night? And we just kind of structured it, but we still leave it to the other person to plan it. And we know that we're gonna get intentional time to connect with each other. And I know it sounds very business-like, but it works for us because then we don't have to think so much if we're gonna connect or too much time has passed by and we haven't gone on a date.
Well, especially as entrepreneurs, small business people, it is so easy to get stuck in all of the things that you have to do. And so you can forget about those. Sometimes it's easy to forget about those dates or forget about the connection with your partner. And so when it's pre-scheduled and it's non-negotiable, then we know that we're focusing on the foundation.
I feel like if you don't do that, that's when the business starts to become more important than the family. And I like what you said, Amanda, about scheduling it, because people will say, "Oh, well, we'll go on a date someday. We'll get to it. Our intentions are good, right?" Mm-hmm. But guess what? There is no day in the week called someday. Mm-hmm. It's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. There is no such thing as a someday. Yeah. There's a Tuesday. So being intentional and scheduling that, knowing that it's going to happen, that's you taking active participation in your family to make sure that the foundation is good. Because if you guys don't succeed as a family, the business doesn't succeed, the kids don't succeed, you don't see your parents, the loved ones, your friends.
Well, Amanda's been so good about I remember a few times where I'm like, I've got this and this and this, and I'm busy. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make our day date or our night date. And she'll look me straight in the eye and be like, "Okay, when are we rescheduling it? Tell me what the day and the time that we're rescheduling it. You better do it right now," because that's the most important thing.
Being intentional.
This is another tool we use, this Asana. So we use that for our business, but we use that for our personal life as well, to keep track of all our trips that we want to take with our girls. We have like camping packing lists in there. We just try to systemize as many things as possible in our personal life so that we can leave the energy for the things that we love doing, actually spending time with our girls, actually planning the date night that's going to be super fun to enjoy. And so I feel like there's so many things in business that we can translate into our relationship that people are missing. And it doesn't have to feel so businessy. I feel like we have so much fun.
Yeah, calendars and task managers like Asana really take like the businessy aspect out of it because it's like set and forget it. Like it's on top of mind. Okay, we need to track it down. Let's get it down, and now we can go back to living our lives.
Yep.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the pain points and the joys of being in business together. How do you guys think that being in business has brought you guys closer together?
I mean, I definitely understand Amanda a lot better. And I think because, I mean, it sounds cliche, but we've taken personality assessments. And so I understand myself more. And I also understand Amanda a little bit more because I know where she's coming from, or at least I try to seek out where she's coming from because of what her personality type is.
Yeah, I would agree. Like we really have gotten to know each other on a different level. Like I know Dan and I know his strengths as like my husband and my partner. But then when we started working together, he has different strengths that show up in business. And I can assume, but then when you see it, I'm like, wow, that's really sexy. That's like what I love. And I see that they're like the different side of him. And so you learn this other extra layer of that other person. And like I said, like building a business is developmental work for yourself and for your partner. So I feel like I've learned so much about myself so that I could better communicate with you and it show our girls like how to better communicate within our business and our relationship. So that's been really fun and just like having fun together. Like there's always something new and different to talk about. It never gets boring in our conversations.
And I feel like I have to say this because I'm a questioner and I hated personality types. I didn't want to be put into a box and you're like, oh, you're telling me you're like this and this is how you operate and everything. No, that's not really what it's saying. It's just giving you a better understanding of how sometimes you operate. It doesn't mean you operate all like that all the time. We're complex human beings. It just gives you more insight into better understanding yourself and your partner.
To give a little analogy, I feel like what you guys are doing right now, it's like a zipper, right? You put on your jacket, and Amanda, you're one side of the zipper, and Dan, you're the other side of the zipper. And this, doing business as a couple is like, the string from the zipper you pull, and it like pulls your strengths together to make one cohesive unit. I think that's fantastic.
That's a good
awesome.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really do feel it makes the outfit for sure.
For sure. Okay, so that's the good stuff. But how has being in business together kind of separated you? What are some of the pain points have been?
So we're definitely different. And this is more separating in not a negative way, but when you work together all the time, we're like together 24/7, right? And we have kids. And so you're always with each other. And so you could be on top of each other sometimes. And we share the same office. Like we fought over the office a couple times. And so you quickly learn to actually physically be separated. So Dan will go and work at the Cactus sometimes. I'm starting to work outside of the office and just give ourselves some space to come back and just like leave a little bit of mystery to each other and not always be together, even though we really enjoy being together. And so even doing like activities, our own hobbies separately so that we can have something fun to talk about with each other. So that's one thing for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically the same thing, but just advocating for yourself that's what you need.
Yeah.
Is that kind of summary of what you were saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know for Kylie and I, me personally, as an individual, I need personal time to recharge my batteries. I get exhausted when I'm around people and I'm having, really big conversations. It's just, it takes a toll on me. And for me to recharge my batteries, to feel rejuvenated again, I need personal time. Yeah. And when I'm in business together with my wife, just like you guys, you're around them all the time. Mm-hmm. So we have we communicate well that, hey, listen, personal time is important to me. And for Kylie, her love language is quality time. Mm-hmm. So it's very conflicting there. Like she enjoys being together at business. So I realize that she needs time together. She realizes that I need time apart. So we communicate that. It's part of our family business strategy that she gives me quality time, but I also make time to just spend with her, so her love tank gets filled too. This show would not be possible without the support from our local community. Because of you, we're able to share information from leading professionals like never before. That's why our sponsors at Boise Turnkey Investments and Your Stay B&B have teamed up with the Boise REIN Show. Whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned pro, they help bring you all the insider information to get you started on your journey today. Back to the show.
If you own a business, you're solving problems all the time. So you have just more issues to go through. And so you add the relationship piece, the being parents, life together, and then now you have a business. And so you are dealing with more issues and more problems. So you have the increase of conflict. And so if you're not ready to have those conversations or move through conflict, that's going to be very difficult. And I think that's a negative piece that people might not think about is like, oh, we're going to have more issues to work through. You have to start picking your battles. Like, what is going to be worth a fight right now? Or is it just more of like, I'm having a bad day, I'm tired type of situation? So navigating through that, I think, has been hard sometimes as well.
I feel like conflict really comes from one problem needing to be solved, but two different ways to solve it.
Yeah.
So how do you guys identify lanes on who's going to solve this issue so that it doesn't become a fight?
I mean, we did some extensive talking together about what we actually liked to do within our business, what we felt like we were good at. And that took a while. So don't think that you're going to be able to finish it right away or fix it right away. But we just talked about it. And then we also did kind of I don't know, what do we call it?
A role. So we have like a role clarity activity exercise that we do almost every year because we're always constantly checking in on our roles. So when we first started working together, we kind of just did everything together because we were like, we don't know what we're doing with investing. And so we're like talking to the agent, both of us, and it was just causing more issues. And so later we're like, okay, let's create some lanes. What are you good at? That's why the personality tests are so important. And saying like, okay, you really love to analyze numbers. You're like information overload. So let's have you run the deals. And Dan's like, yeah, I love that. I'm like, great.
Data negotiations. That's Dan.
Yeah, that's so Dan. And I'm like, thank goodness. I want to talk to the people. That's what I love doing. And so that's when we learned that I love to go to networking events and it drains Dan. But I was getting so jealous because we were splitting it 50-50. Like, oh, you go to this one, I'll go to this one. And like, I would be so jealous. And then eventually he's like, I'm an introvert. And I was like, oh, I'm an extrovert. I want to go to all of these. He's like, great, go to all of them. And it just brought us so much joy to just say that out loud. Yeah. And so we had to go through this activity to really just like dissect everything that we were doing in our business and then say, okay, this task is yours, this is yours. And there's some things that couldn't land between, like, it had to land somewhere. Someone had to do it. So it was just like, okay, you'll do it for right now until we figure out what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Either.
I think that's a big takeaway for our listeners listening in right now. Like, what's one thing that could instantly make your relationship better and your business better? If you have not identified lanes, if you have not identified your strengths and weaknesses together, do that right now. Talk to your partner and say, hey, this is what I'm passionate about. This is what I love doing. And, and vice versa. And you will find that you guys have, even if they seem similar, they're at least a little bit different, that you can then delegate lanes so that you wake up every morning excited to work on your business, excited to work on your family.
Yeah.
Well, and Amanda, I don't know if you created it, but she's got a cool little exercise that helps you create those lanes where we have up on our whiteboard or a big white piece of paper. And then we have sticky notes and we write the different aspects of our business. And then we put them within the lanes of what our business encompasses, and then we kind of move them around and then we talk about it. And so it kind of makes it a little more fun figuring that out.
Yeah. And we do that in our personal life too. Like Dan's role, he does all the dishes and I do all the laundry. And that came from reading a book and talking about what we liked and what we didn't like in our household. And now like, I feel like we've been doing that for a year now. And like, we don't fight about the dishes. We don't fight about the laundry. Just one less fight to fight about. And so we don't just do that in our business, we do that in our personal life as well.
So identifying strengths, identifying roles, identifying passions, and really communicating and trying to do your best to, help each other out. Do you think any of this would translate to some listeners who maybe aren't in business with their spouse, but they have a business partner? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm in business with my little sister. And so by doing a lot of the things we mentioned, I apply the same things to working with her. It comes back to just personality types. And I'm a big advocate of, I knew I was going to bring it up, but I'm a big advocate of Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. That, it's the title of the book is misconceiving because it more deals with dealing with people and how to, dealing with conflict a little bit better. And so I apply all of that with business with my sister as well.
So applying the psychology of communicating and de-escalating a situation and trying to get to the root cause of like, listen, I'm good at this and you're good at that. I think you need to take this over because you're passionate about it, and having that conversation, like that honest conversation, that tough conversation that a lot of people need to have with either their business partner or spouse.
I think even having those conversations too, you can identify if both of you don't like it, then maybe to avoid some of that conflict, you need to hire out.
Or eliminate it.
Or
automate
it.
Elon Musk says the best system is no system. The best part is no part. So if you can eliminate it, get rid of it. So the lessons you've learned through real estate investing and wealth building. In real estate, a lot of people get started first. I know I did because it's easy to build a business. You buy a home, you rent it out. Like, you have to set up a checking account. Like it's an easy way to get started. But how has this transformed your outlook on business as a whole now that you guys have, started a couple successful businesses?
For me, the biggest thing has been like delayed gratification. So when you start out with real estate, you're pouring so much money, even though it's easy to start. Typically, you're putting a lot of money into it, and then you're fixing it, and then you're renting it, and then you kind of have to wait for that that cash flow to come in after putting out all that money. Same thing with doing business as a couple. We're barely a year old. And so right now we're taking a lot of the systems that we've learned to build in our real estate and move it into this business, but also with the vision of being more hands-off. So because our main thing is our kids and we want to have more time with them. And so if we have to do another business that's more brick and mortar for us, that'd be very difficult. And so we build kind of with the end in mind. And so that's really a lot of what we've learned from building our real estate.
What are some tough lessons you've learned as you've escalated and built these businesses together?
Just because something is cheaper, you don't always want to go with that option. And I think we learned that with our real estate stuff is sometimes we want a quick fix and we want to spend less money to fix something. And then we end up having to pay for it in the long run. Same thing with like doing business as a couple. Dan and I started off, we were like, we're going to invest in a coach because we wanted to invest in that coach that we wouldn't make some of those mistakes that we were running into with real estate. And so far, I feel like we have picked a really good coach and learned a lot. But I know there's a lot of people out there too, when they're starting off, they're like either jumping straight to the coach, paying $10,000, not putting in that work equity into it first. So that's a big thing for us is for Dan, he likes to like get like in the weeds of things and then say, okay, let's get a coach. So.
Yeah, I guess it's finding a balance between what you're willing to pay for and what you're willing to work for.
Yeah.
But in the end, you're either trading your time to figure it out or you're trading your money. So what's more important to you and what phase of business you want to be in? And
especially as a couple, like, are you going to allocate that time towards trying to figuring that issue out, or do you need to allocate that time to your family?
Yeah.
Okay. So for those spouses that are out there that maybe have some disagreements against each other, they have not taken these steps that we have talked about today. What would you recommend to couples looking to bring their spouses on board in their investing journey?
I think the first thing to know is like, you can't change your partner. I think I hear all the time from like women, especially reaching out to me. They're like, how did you get Dan to do this? I'm like, honey, I did not make him do anything. Like if he's not willing to want to do it, it's not going to be sustainable. And so you have to cater to what they're looking for and what their why is and work with them and understand that sometimes at the end of the day, like your values may be different. And so how are you going to work together? And so that first mindset I think is really important is if you go into it, I'm going to change my partner or I'm going to make him invest, I'm going to make him start this business, you're setting yourself up for like failure.
Yeah. Because when you first meet each other, like you are attracted to the person that they have become.
Yep.
So why are you trying to change them?
Exactly. You should embrace their difference and lean on those like strengths and say like, okay, like start taking those personality tests, start learning about each other in that work relationship versus just like assuming what it's going to work in your relationship will work in your business.
I had a few people that asked me how I got Amanda into real estate investing. And my response was, why I really didn't. I just showed her what I was passionate about. and then try to cater to what her interests were, her position in life at that time. And then, I just started sending her podcasts about real estate investing, and one of them stuck. So I never really tried to change her at all. I just tried to think about her and her personality.
Yeah. What comes to mind is just like, I am enjoying and I'm passionate about going down this path. And I know that you're, my spouse, you're passionate about going down this path, and just showing them the path that you're on, whether they want to join you on that path or not, just showing them that path, so they can understand you instead of having to fight against it.
Yep, for sure.
One of the things that my wife and I did was, so I started investing before she did. She was very W-2 mindset like yourself, Amanda, right? And I remember Brandon Turner said, I want you to read this book. So how do I get her to read this book? Because I know it'll change the way she thinks about it. I think it was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? I'm like, I'm going to do the same thing. So I went to her, I was like, honey, like, this is very important to me. I want to show you my path. And it's important to me that you read this book, whether you like it, you don't like it. It's important to me that you read it. Name anything in this world that you want from me and I will do it. It does not matter, because it was that important to me. Yeah. It was important that, that we invest in our future. And if she wanted to be along for the ride, I really wanted her to join us. So
and she didn't read it right.
She could have named anything like, we're going to take a family vacation. We're going to go on a date. It could have been anything. But for her, what she chose was, okay, well, I want you to read this book. It was The 5 Love Languages. Oh. I was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. Okay, because I would never read this book. I was I'm driven. I want to read real estate investing. I want to read business. I want to read psychology. So I was like, okay, so we both read the books. And I got to tell you, that book opened my eyes, The 5 Love Languages. It brought us closer together. And her reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad brought her closer together with my investing journey. And she loved it. So it wasn't that I was trying to influence her. She was trying to influence me. Like, we showed each other the path. For, love it or hate it, like it or not, we showed each other the path. And then, man, I have to say this, after she read that, she wanted to do so much more that she went to this Invest Her meetup. And she came back from the first meetup so excited and just like invigorated and wanted to start investing. And for those who don't know this inside joke, Amanda's the host of the Invest Her meetup, and that's how they met. And that's how we all met. And you never know where your paths are going to go until you start. So thank you for letting me share that. But
well, I love that you guys worked together, because it wasn't like you kind of were like, well, I'll do something that you want to do if you do this for me. That's the communication piece that I think a lot of couples forget, is like to give and take a little bit here and there. And then you shared a vision that was like so much bigger than yourself that she could see where she fits in. That's leadership. That's building a business. If you're doing that with another person, not outside your spouse, that's so important to do. And so I think it's so cool if you looked a step back, like that's business building right there.
All right. So we've really encapsulated what it means to work in a business with your partner, with your spouse. What is it that, Dan, you and Amanda are trying to do or trying to accomplish? What is your vision with doing business as a couple as you guys move forward with this new system that you're trying to help others with?
I feel like we're best positioned to help our former selves, and our former selves would be seeing our parents go through some of this. And so that's our big why, our big passion. We don't want to see anyone else go through their marriage and have it end in turmoil because they're not focusing on their business. And so everything that we've kind of done since 2020, since we started investing, we kind of documented, and then we trial and error and be like, this worked, this didn't. And so we've been just like compiling that into resources to just help anybody who wants a little bit of help through their investing or just working with their significant other.
Yeah, our relationship is so important to us that like we want other couples to feel that same way. And I feel like we have a really good relationship. I feel even more connected to Dan creating businesses together, even though we fight probably a little bit more and have more conflict, but we have a better understanding of who we are. And we know that we've been in that grind where you're working and you're exhausted and you barely connect. You barely know the other person.
It's going to be ups and downs all the time.
And you're like, I've spent all week with you, yet I have not had a moment of connection with you. And we don't want other couples to go through that. We want to be those annoying couple that reminds them, like, take your wife, your husband on a date. Like, take that lunch date in the middle of the day because it's worth it. I know, like, there's probably fires you have to take out, but it's so important for you just to connect with each other because we know the divorce rate is high, and then you add the business piece to it. And so we're just kind of on this mission to show couples that you can build a business and have a really good relationship and go through all the struggles and all the joys of doing it together. I think because of what we've experienced with our own parents. And so, we're creating resources to help couples clarify their roles. We want to do retreats where we bring couples together so that they can reconnect with each other. We want to help them meet other couples who are doing the same things because we believe that networking is so important and that you should see other couples thriving in their businesses and their relationship as well. It just reminds you like, oh, we can have that too. We just don't want people to get too far in building their business and lose connection, and then they don't have a business or a relationship.
When I know a lot of people, myself included, we try to steer away from conflict. But I do believe that in great conflict, there's more clarity. And so I know that I have more clarity about who Amanda is, who I am as well, because there's conflict. So don't steer away from conflict.
I love that. So real quickly, when you guys think of the vision moving forward with, helping others, helping couples in business, you mentioned your mission there briefly. What do some goals look like, and what does success look like when you're helping some of these couples?
Well, one of the goals that we had was it was 100 couples this year, and correct me if I'm wrong. I'm trying to look back to our goals, our 3 and 5 and 10 year goals, but I think it was 100 couples this year. And we've done that through real estate meetups and just helping connect couples and work together better. And then it was 1,000 within 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay. And it was just very simple, helping 1,000 couples work together better in their business.
Stay connected in their relationship. Yeah.
When you think about community and the issue that people have had working together, this is like a niche that isn't really talked about, and you guys are well positioned to help so many people out, especially how caring you guys are and how systematic you are, Dan, to make it happen, and how vision driven you are, Amanda, to go in the right direction. And I'm excited to see where this goes.
Yeah.
Because you don't hear anybody else, trying to help people in this regard, which is not touched on.
Yeah. I don't know what the statistics are, but supposedly millennials, because of high rises of daycare costs, a lot of wives are staying home, and then their husbands are typically entrepreneurs building their businesses. What ends up happening is they need more support, and their wives start to step in. And so now they're starting to work together, and there's an increase of that in the millennial generation. And so we think this is going to continue to be a bigger niche than we think. And maybe it's just the community that we spend time with, but we're seeing that in almost every single couple that we spend time with. They're either investing or building businesses together.
Awesome. Well, I can't thank you guys enough for coming. This has been a wonderful and enlightening conversation, not one that we're used to having, but I feel like it is so important because it's the foundation of how successful your business can truly be.
Hi, I'm Jonna Weber, the founder of the Boise Real Estate Investor Network. Thanks for being a listener of our Boise REIN show, where our incredible pro members share their personal stories and areas of expertise with our listeners. If you're enjoying our show, you are going to love our Boise REIN community. Our mission is to inspire, connect, and equip you to create wealth and freedom for yourself and your family. We invite you to join us as a member at Boise REIN today at boiserein.com.
So with that being said, at the end of every show, we have to ask, what is one piece of advice, either from each of you or both of you, what's one piece of advice you'd give to our listeners that they could take action today that will get them closer to their goals tomorrow?
So mine is take a personality test. I know that feels like it's going to box you in, but you're going to learn so much about yourself and give yourself language to talk to your partner about maybe why you're feeling frustrated. And it's super easy. There's so many free ones online.
And do you know a couple on the top of your head?
So if you do StrengthsFinder, there's a free one by Tony Robbins. If you do DISC, there's one online too. And they're less than $50 to take. And then they'll give you an assessment, and you could share that with your partner and say, like, this is me, and I agree with these parts, and I want you to know a little bit more of how I think, and then vice versa. So,
and I mean, Love Language is another book that's fairly inexpensive.
Yeah. There's a bunch out there.
Yeah, the 5 Love Languages is great. Well, thanks again for coming. If people want to reach out to you, if they want help and they want to see how they're doing in their relationship, how do they get a hold of you?
We're primarily on Instagram
Okay.
at doing business as a couple. Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah.
And then we each have our own Instagram, Amanda Rockroar, and then Daniel Rockroar.
Mine's Daniel Rockroar. Yeah, you're right. I changed it.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for coming in today. This certainly has been a breath of fresh air, from talking about the nitty gritty data driven stuff that, real estate and business is. But for those of you listening, if you've been listening this far, we hope you got some good value out of it. I know I certainly did. So if you like this episode, give us a like. Let us know that you liked it, or comment below of some things that you guys do. And if you want to listen to more, don't forget to subscribe. And I'm your host, Matt Osojnicki. We'll see you guys next time.